Hey everyone, Glenn here from rewiringtinnitus.com. So I talk a lot about habituation because I believe that it's our best option to find lasting, long-term relief from tinnitus. But the habituation process takes time regardless of how you approach it. And it's really important to have effective coping tools and coping strategies to improve quality of life in the short term and to make you more comfortable. So today, I want to talk to you guys about a new strategy, one that isn't in my book that I know a lot of you guys have read, but can help you to cope with spikes and difficult moments more effectively using the coping tools that you're already using. So I call this idea preventative coping, and it's pretty simple. You see, most people cope reactively, meaning their tinnitus spikes or suddenly becomes more bothersome, and they do something about it after the fact, like putting on sound masking, to give you a simple example. But if you can identify specific periods of time, environments, or situations where you're more vulnerable or more likely to have a spike, you can take steps ahead of time using the coping tools that you're already using to try to prevent those spikes from occurring in the first place. And you would do this whether it's bothering you beforehand or not. So the first thing you have to do is figure out when you're more vulnerable to having spikes or being more bothered by your tinnitus. And one simple way to do this is to start keeping track of everything, like your tinnitus, your environment, and your lifestyle. And you can do this with my free printable tinnitus trigger tool. This is the tool here. I know a lot of you guys are already using this, and I will include links to the tool below. It's pretty simple. You just fill one of these printable tracking tools out every day, and then you go back and compare your bad days to look for possible patterns and try to identify triggers. But it's not always easy to find specific triggers, even when you're keeping track of everything. So what's nice about this approach of approaching this preventatively is that you don't need to know exactly what factors are triggering your tinnitus. You just need to identify when or where you're more likely to be triggered. So let me give you a couple examples of how you can apply this type of thinking. Let's say that you figure out that you often have a difficult time in the morning. A lot of people really struggle first thing in the morning, especially if they don't get out of bed right away. So a good preventative coping strategy here would be, or at least a simple preventative coping strategy here, would be to get out of bed right away, right when you wake up, and put on some kind of enjoyable audio, something more than just simple sound masking, something like a great podcast or radio show or music that you really enjoy. And then just keep the audio on as you go about your morning routine. And you do this whether your tinnitus is bothering you when you wake up or not. The idea here is to try to prevent it from bothering you and prevent a spike from even being a possibility. You can also throw in a meditation or some other relaxing activity. Both of those things are also great strategies. Ultimately, the coping tools that you choose to use are less important than actually putting some kind of preventative coping routine into practice and being consistent with it every day. So I'll give you another example. Let's say your tinnitus often bothers you when you're relaxing at the end of the day and trying to watch TV. This is another somewhat common situation because by the end of the day, you're probably tired, you have less mental energy to deal with the emotional impact of your tinnitus. You probably just want to watch TV and decompress. So one simple preventative coping strategy would be to do something intentionally relaxing before you go to watch TV, something like meditation, taking a hot bath. You can use brainwave entrainment, audio for relaxation, or even just simple breathing techniques to try to calm your nervous system down, all in an attempt to put you into a more comfortable state where you can actually enjoy watching TV and not just be bothered by your tinnitus the whole time. The idea here is that, again, you do this whether your tinnitus is bothering you or not beforehand, before any time that you know you're more likely to have a spike. And if you do this over and over for, let's say, a couple weeks, you're likely to break that pattern and stop being bothered in that moment when you stop using the preventative coping routine. So I hope you guys give this a try. This type of thinking can be applied to a wide variety of different situations and environments, and it can be extremely effective when you practice it consistently. So that's all from me for today. Thanks, everybody. I hope you guys have as much success with this as I have.